Some other breaking news that happened in the NBA. Ryan Saunders got fired, the Timberwolves' old head coach. He's a very young coach. He's only 34 years old. He was the son of a legendary coach in Flip Saunders. Rest in peace to him. Ryan Saunders got fired. He went 43-94 in his tenure with the Timberwolves, and during that time span, that was the third worst record, only ahead of the Knicks and Cavs within that time span. And I want to say this, whatever Ryan Saunders did in Minnesota does not depict the type of coach that he actually is. I don't think anybody can call Ryan Saunders a good, bad, or average coach because Karl-Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell have only played 5 games during Ryan Saunders' tenure. When the T-Wolves traded for D'Angelo Russell, we were all excited because Cat and D'Lo, they were friends. They were going to make this good pick-and-roll duo, a point guard, big man duo. It was going to be awesome. But they haven't been on the court together, and the Timberwolves are a talented young team. But when you don't have your best player on the court and your second-best player on the court together for at least 50% of the time, it's hard to win games, especially when you're in the Western Conference. So I don't think he can be fairly judged, but I also think it was pretty shady in how everything went down. Ryan Saunders got fired, and then like 30 minutes after, they hired Chris Finch to a multi-year deal to coach the team. If you aren't familiar with Chris Finch, he was an assistant coach for the Toronto Raptors. He was just on their staff this season. The Timberwolves actually had to ask permission to interview him and hire him, and the Raptors said yes, of course, so he's now their head coach. So I think there was a lot of shady stuff going there, but I want to move off the subject of Ryan Saunders because I don't think that's really the headliner of this topic. I'm going to say this. I think the Minnesota Timberwolves are way too talented to have the worst record in the NBA, which is a part of the reason they fired Ryan Saunders. Right now, they are 7-24, which is the worst record in the league by far. There's a pretty wide margin. Now, can Chris Finch win with this Timberwolves roster right now? Former assistant Raptors coach, the president of basketball operations for the Timberwolves, Gerson Rosas, if I mispronounce his name, I'm sorry. He worked with Chris Finch for 4+ years with the Houston Rockets organization, and Chris Finch is known as a coach who can maximize players. And you look at the Toronto Raptors team, a lot of guys that flew under the radar that have been developed and now are really good, solid NBA players. Fred VanVleet, Pascal Norman, and other guys. I could go on a tangent about those guys. But now he's with a lot of good young talent in Minnesota. You look at Jaden McDaniels, who already shows flashes of being an elite defender. He has to work on his offensive game. He's not polished there yet. Jared Culver, a top pick in last year's draft. Anthony Edwards, the number 1 pick in this past draft. Naz Reid, who I think is a really good offensive center. And Josh Okogie. And, of course, Karl-Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell. So, for the most part, Chris Finch has a lot of talent to work with. And this is why I think they are too good to be the worst team in the league. They have lost a lot of close games this season. And right now, this is their talent. D'Angelo Russell, Ricky Rubio, Anthony Edwards, Malik Beasley, Karl-Anthony Towns, Naz Reid, Jared Culver, Jaden McDaniels, Jordan McLaughlin, who I think is a slept-on point guard, and Josh Okogie. Anthony Edwards has been inefficient to this point. We know that Karl-Anthony Towns is one of the best centers. D'Lo is a really good scoring guard and really underrated passer. Ricky Rubio is a floor general. But I'm going to be honest, the guy I like the most out of this whole group that's not Cat or D'Lo is Malik Beasley. Malik Beasley in Denver, I knew he was going to be a star. I remember talking to my friend about Malik Beasley, and I said, look, I think he's going to be really good. And I don't think you can classify him as a star, but I think he's an ascending star. If he went to any other team that has like a winning situation, he'd be their 3rd best scorer on the team, maybe even 2. You put him on the Mavericks right now with Luka, KP, and Malik Beasley, I think that is a pretty damn good team, and Malik Beasley might be the 2nd or 3rd best player on that team. 3rd for sure. He might be pushing for that 2nd spot with KP. That's how good I think Malik Beasley is. He's a sharpshooter. He can space the floor. He's just a bona fide scorer. And right now, can Chris Finch maximize this roster? The hardest part of this all is that D'Angelo Russell is going to miss 3 to 5 weeks with ankle surgery, so he's not going to be available for a while. But they did get Karl Anthony Towns back, and I think with Rubio, Edwards, Beasley, and Towns, you can win games. Karl Anthony Towns, we know what he's going to do, but I think D'Lo being injured, of course, you never want somebody to get injured, but D'Lo being injured might be a blessing in disguise for Anthony Edwards, because now Edwards gets to start more, gets to take more shots, and instead of having D'Lo, who's kind of more of a two-guard, kind of running the offense, we have Rubio, who's more of a guy who's going to get everybody involved running the offense. So it's going to help Edwards a lot. To this point, Edwards has been a human highlight reel, but he's been extremely inefficient, and I'm not going to knock him for it because it's just his rookie season. So nobody should really take stock into a player's rookie year, especially 30 games into the season. It makes no sense. But I think this could be a blessing in disguise for Anthony Edwards, and ultimately, we're going to get to see if Chris Finch can maximize this Timberwolves roster. We'll see if they finally start winning with him being their new head coach. I mean, I'm really excited to watch this. I was excited for the Timberwolves before the season started, and of course, it dwindled down because they started losing, but I'm still very excited for the talent they have on this roster. The talent they have is good enough to win. Now it's just about putting it all together, and let's see if Chris Finch can do that. And I'm wishing the best of luck to Ryan Saunders, 34 years old. He's going to get another coaching opportunity somewhere down the line. And I actually really wanted him to succeed with the Timberwolves because of that history with his father there. I know that he wanted to succeed there as well. And we're just going to see what happens with him. But, man, I'm hoping the Timberwolves can turn it around because the talent they have on this roster is they have a lot. It's a really slept-on roster. And I wouldn't be surprised if the T-Wolves start losing in 3 to 4 years from now. Most of the players on this roster are on new teams, and we're like, wow, they just ascended into a different player once they left the Wolves. Kind of like what you see what Andrew Wiggins is doing now. He's doing what he's doing in Golden State, one of the better defenders in the league. We'll see, but hopefully the Timberwolves can maximize this roster with this coach, Chris Finch, right now, because they're way too talented to have the worst record in the entire NBA.